Hi Nishi, welcome to Sea
Hi,
Talk.
Paul,
So,
how are you doing?
good, mate. So, Londis Bexley, and your other site is where?
I've got two other sites, Londis Manor Close, South East London, Thamesmead, and then the other one is Londis Eltham, again, South East London.
Good. So, look, Nishi, we've both been on the same journey on the tobacco. We've both been impacted by what's going on in our local areas with tobacco
Yeah.
sales and loss of revenue, because it doesn't just hit tobacco, it hits other sales as well. And we've both been fortunate to be in front of Lords as well several times over the last year, by our good friend Rupert, right?
Yeah.
So I think out of all this, though, it's still very disappointing that we're still not getting any support or help from government. We sent a lot of letters to Peter Kyle, still haven't had a response to that. And like even in your council, what's going on in your area?
Yeah, so we've definitely seen a big decline in tobacco. We were talking about earlier
Mhm.
about figures and been looking over, and actually, yeah, I think all three of my stores have actually lost on tobacco sales. The other Bexley not as much as the other two because they're more South East London, but we've definitely seen. I think Manor Close is like 40 grand down on last year's tobacco sales.
Mhm.
It's obviously creeping into that area where there's obviously some illegal tobacco being sold. And in fact, my Alton store, we actually have someone selling it in front of the shop once a week brazenly. So it's prevalent. We can see it happening now. We're seeing it in the figures. So
Mhm. But it don't just affect your tobacco sales, does it? So when that
no,
customer used to come in for tobacco, they're not coming in anymore. But then it affects you on that basket spend as well, right?
absolutely, yeah. But all retailers know that customers don't just come and buy fags. They'll buy, the extra tobacco, the lighters, or on top of that, chewing gum, drinks, sweets. Everything that they come in for. A shopper doesn't come in just for tobacco. They'll come in for all their bits for the morning or afternoon. So yeah, it's definitely going to be detrimental across the board.
Yeah. And do you? I mean, I'm a big believer in this. Just, I just don't think that government understands that the pressures we're going through with this issue. I mean, we've never seen it. My dad's been in retail since for about 45, 46 years. We've never seen this
Yeah,
before. And the last couple of years, I think the local councils and the government have allowed this to happen and to grow, right?
yeah,
So
absolutely.
they're the main ones to blame for this because they've got
Hmm.
no action to actually close these stores down. Where I'm actually sat at the moment, I've got a store in front of me. That's probably taken sub 5,000 off me a week on tobacco. We sell
Crazy.
hardly any tobacco in the store now at all.
Yeah,
But, he's been closed down 3 times and he still trades.
yeah.
He trades out of licensed hours as well. The kids go in there at lunchtime, buy a single cigarette for 50p. And this is the thing that's hitting retailers up and down the country so
Yeah. And
bad.
crazy is going on. You've
Yeah.
you've told the council is going on, but there's no due diligence after to think. You know what? This is an ongoing, persistent criminal
Yeah.
who's robbing out of your business as well as a council. But they don't seem to have the powers to then shut that person down, or giving them some different authority that they can't sell tobacco anymore. Anything, there should be should be penalised better. And yeah, we're noticing it more and more now. And you've obviously been having it for the last few years, right?
Yeah. I mean, look, when we going to the TMA events that Rupert holds are really good.
Yeah.
I think the peers that sit in that room with us, they've all understood our pain that we're going through.
Yeah.
What what would you like the local councils to do to these stores? What would be your one?
There needs to be heavy fines. There's got to be
Yeah.
heavy fines. First offence, it's never going to be a first offence. They're going to carry on doing it because if they're brazen enough to sell illegal tobacco,
Yeah.
a small fine or closing them down for 24 hours isn't going to do anything because they can open up, like they open up tomorrow. They've got
Yeah.
another bunch of tobacco which they've had in their home or garage and they've got replenished their stock. And a slap on the wrist doesn't work. The small fines, £1,000, they happily pay that because they're going to make that back in a day because they're not paying any duty on their tobacco.
Mhm.
So they need to be shut down. They need to be, 3 times, that's it. You're never allowed to open again. Heavy fines, 50, £60,000 fines that will actually implement and stop them from wanting to do it anymore. Because
Mhm.
there is just no punishment big enough at the moment for doing that.
Mhm. And do you
And I
think
think
some of
that's what
these
the issue is.
and do you think some of these landlords that are renting these shops out to these outlets,
Yeah.
they must know what's going on, right? Because is it just to fill the store? But do you think there should be a penalty also set to these guys as well? But they must know what's going on with their tenant. They must know what they're doing. Because if they've been closed down once, twice, or three times, they must know. But do you think they should have a better duty of care of when they're renting their sites out?
Yeah, I think as myself being a landlord, you want your business premises to have at least a legitimate business that they're doing, hairdressers, food, whatever it is. It should be a legitimate business, and it should be frowned upon that they know that their tenants are doing that. You know, they're breaking the law. They're bringing disrepute on their own property. You know, if they had a law in place to say that that shop will never be allowed to sell alcohol or tobacco again, you'll watch the landlords will not have, or they'll do their due diligence to make sure that the tenant going in there is going to be a reputable, responsible retailer.
And you joined me at the beginning when we started Protect Your Store campaign. You know the work that all us retailers are put into that campaign to get it in front of government. And, you know, it's not just about getting government to understand how damaging the generation ban is going to be for us, how damaging the generation ban is going to be for our team members that are behind the till, because, you know, a customer of age is still thinking I'm legal, but the general public still don't know how that ban's going to affect them, right? Because the government don't tell people.
If we don't know how it's going to be affecting us, the general public haven't got a clue. And, you know, the whole antisocial behaviour is going to creep up, you know, threatening to staff's going to creep up, you know. It's that old thing we talk about when we go to these meetings. A 30-year-old can buy a tobacco because he was born in December. His mate who's 29, who's born in January, is not allowed to have it. You know, they're talking about these proxy sales that we're supposed to then enforce. It's a minefield, if I'm honest. And being a younger retailer, I'm already finding it a minefield, let alone the older retailers.
Yeah, it's going to be really hard. It's going to be really, really hard to police it in the store. But do you think that the government maybe should park that for a minute and sort out the problem that's in front of them with these illicit stores that are popping up? That should be more of a concern to the government today, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Because they don't have any age restrictions. Like you said, there's teenagers going in. You don't know what this tobacco is that they're smoking, what it's got in there, what poisons it's got. You know, there's all these stories about them making the tobacco by hand and pushing them into these cartridges and all the rest of it. So, the health aspect, yes, tobacco's not healthy at the best of times anyway, but you don't know what's going in that tobacco because it's not legislated. And they don't care who they're selling to. They couldn't care if a person's 12, 13, 15, it does not matter to them. They're not out to be a law-abiding citizen, are they already? Because they're already selling counterfeit tobacco.
So give me a short, sharp message that you want to send to your local council, and then secondly to the government.
Be better and do more. To the council, do more, be better. Do, you know, what you're supposed to do is by holding these people accountable that are selling these tobacco products, you know, have better laws, more restrictions on these people that are doing it. To the government, it's nonsensical what they're making us do when it comes to this whole generational ban. I do agree that tobacco shouldn't be given to the, you know, or you know, the younger generation shouldn't be allowed to get it. So why not have a sensible option of putting the age to 21? You know, when we had the age restriction from 16 to 18, I'm sure we had a massive drop in tobacco. So do the smart thing, not the hard things. You know, make it easier for us to enforce these laws and be, you know, responsible retailers.
Yeah, and look, it's not the 50-odd thousand convenience stores that are up and down the country that have been the lifeblood of local communities for all these years. It's these new emerging stores that are popping up. They're the ones that are putting it into children's hands, right? It's not.
Absolutely.
It's not the good retailers. And I think that's the approach government need to take, right? They need to probably park what's going on with the gen ban and look at the problem that's in front of them and maybe give more powers to local councils to address this and to enforce it. I know, like, my Coventry council said to me, they've got to look back in the toolbox and see what's going on. And I was alarmed when they told me that. I mean, the toolbox, what is a toolbox? Someone gets caught with something, do what you need to do with that retailer, right?
There's too much leeway. There's definitely too much leeway. There's not enough powers, not enough funding. And the only thing this generational ban will do is reduce the funding. and push the responsible retailers out. That's all. That's the only thing I can see happening.
And I don't know if you get it in your stores. I mean, before people used to come and say, "Can I have a pack of Benson?" Now the question is, "What's your cheapest?"
What's the cheapest? Yep. Oh, do you know, I was just talking to someone the other day about how I used to smoke, been a smoker many years ago, and I was very brand conscious about the tobacco I would smoke, and I would, regardless of the price, I would do that. And with the inflated prices that are happening now, people are just whatever the cheapest is, and that's going to push them to think, how much cheaper can I get this tobacco, and where can I get it from? And that's the other side of it.
So I think consumers now are used to buying this cheap tobacco from wherever, right?
That's
and
it.
That's why they come into our stores and says, "What's your cheapest?" Because that's the conversation that they have. So I think government just needs to be realistic now and probably wake up, and they've got to sort this problem out, because stores will go otherwise, won't they? That's all I can see, because it's the bottom line.
Also, look at the duty they're losing on. What else is affecting that money that's not coming in from the duty? The NHS, roads, the actual ability for the councils to send people to these stores is going to be affected if they don't get the revenue in. So it's the whole other side of it as well, right? The knock-on effect years down the line.
And then you see in the article from the good old lady, Miss Cheeseman from Ash, and she was saying, look, focus on fruit and veg. But hold on, focus on the problem. Who's actually putting tobacco into children's hands, right? And she's trying to tell us how to run our shops, but she's not telling the government to go and sort the problem out, right?
Yeah. Do you think that this whole age, when this whole generational ban comes in, that there's never going to be tobacco sold to a child ever again? If anything, it's then going to push that more underground. It's then going to push the older generation more underground. And again, it's the knock-on effect, isn't it? Like I said, the whole influx of no cash, the business that we're going to be affected by the extra purchasing, being a responsible retailers. It's going to be a pointless thing, because we're not going to be able to sell tobacco or anything.
Yeah. Well, look, Keir Starmer, Peter Kyle, if you get to see this video at all, come and talk to us. This is affecting many retailers up and down the country. It's not just me and Nishi. 55,000 stores in the UK, we're all getting the same problem. And you, the government, are held responsible for this. So I think you need to wake up and look at reality.
Agreed. Totally.
Good stuff. Thanks, Nishi.
No worries, Paul. Thanks for having me.